say that Coach Lara is she's an epitome of everything she talks about. All right. When I started this journey of recovery, I started my journey of recovery in 2023 when I had quit my job. Coach Lara was there from the start, even till today. All right. She was just there encouraging me and reminding me that I am not alone on this journey. So I'm grateful for Coach Lara. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the members of HR Gems and my good friend Henry. I see you. Patsy, I see you. Thank you so much for everyone who's joined. I might not know all your names, but I'm grateful that you took the time to be here to listen to my story. All right, I'm going to share my slides. Let me know if you can see my slides. 1 second. Okay. Yes. Please confirm you can see my slide now. Okay, so burnouts, signs and how to address it in the workplace. This is an experiential knowledge session, and I hope for it to be interactive. Now, before I experienced burnout, I didn't know what that was. It was when I was at the crisis stage, and I'm grateful for the coach I had who mentioned that word to me, and I was curious, like, what is burnout anyway? So that was the beginning of the journey for me, and it's I'm still going to my recovery. It's been a journey of discovery and gratitude for life, because this journey has brought me to a place of just being grateful for life. You know, the simple things that we used to just walk by and be like, oh yeah, that's just normal. But now I cherish every moment that I have on earth and with the people that I'm exposed to. So let's just start with. So when you hear about burnout, what comes to your mind when you hear the word burnout? What do you think about? Let me know in the chat session, in the comment section. Let me know when someone tells you or you hear, or just what do you think about when you hear burnout? Anybody? There's no right or wrong answer, please. This is no lecture room. We are sharing our experiences, what we know. Just tell me what it is. Okay, I'm exhausted. Yeah. Stressed out. Stress. Yeah. Low energy. Good. Tired. Awesome. Overstressed. Oh, yeah. Fed up. Good. Flat out. I like fed up. Flat out. Yeah, that's a good one too. Okay. So all these words are associated with burnout, truly. So let's just ask ourselves, what is burnout now? We're going to use the World Health Organization's definition. 1 second. Sorry, I went ahead of myself there. Okay. Okay. So these are two. Who can see the two pictures in front of us, please? Feel free to unmute. Hopeless, yes. I'm still seeing exhaustion, time to take a break. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Funke. I can see that. All right. So I have two pictures in front of me. How many people can see these pictures? Okay. I would like to have responses. Coach Lara, can you see the pictures? Who can see the pictures?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. I can. Thank you. Please feel free when I give prompts for interaction, please feel free to unmute and speak up. Thank you so much. All right. So in December, how do I get rid of this panel? It's blocking my it's okay. Okay, I'll just make do what I have then. In December 2022, right? This is the stage where I was at the crisis of the burnout, right? And I was vulnerable to illness. I was unable to heal was physiologically. My nervous system was dysregulated. And what does that mean? My nervous system was unable to communicate with other parts of my body. So that means my mind would tell me, I want to do one thing, but my body was unable to respond. I dropped all professional domestic tasks, social obligations. I quit my job. Yes, I had to quit my job so that I could recover. And now this is 2020, December 2023. And I want to believe that I look better. Now, can someone just unmute and tell me some of the things you can see from the picture in December 2022? Can you tell the difference? What do you notice? Anybody?
Hey, if you look at this, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Lady Gwen.
Okay, so if you look at the one in red, because I have to zoom
Can you speak up a bit? You sound a bit distant.
Oh my goodness. Let me take it off. Okay. Can you hear me better now? Is it better?
Oh yes, thank you.
I can hear you now.
A lot.
Okay, so the one in red, when I zoom into your eyes, you look tired. The eyes are tired, and then the smile is more like you're trying to put on a smile. It looks forced, and I noticed the weight change in the 2023. Now, if you look at the eyes in 2003, the one you're wearing black, your eyes are wide open, they're bigger, you look excited. And even though it's not a big smile, even though it's not a big smile, it didn't really matter. And then you had put on weight. You didn't really, the two pictures are not looking like the same person anyway. So those are my evaluation.
Thank you so much, Lady Gwen. That is accurate. All right. This picture you see me in red here, I was at a strategy session in December 2022. And I'll just share a background of how I got to this place that you see me right here. At the beginning of the year, that's 2022, I noticed that I was experiencing headaches, from migraine. I came out from the pandemic with a migraine. Then I took plenty of drugs. Today is pain relief. Tomorrow it's the type that's recommended for migraines. I had to just manage it, right? And then afterwards, I started visiting. I was very frequent in the hospital. Initially started as once in 3 months, then it moved to twice. Then it got to two, maybe twice in a month. And of course, my HR noticed it. So, but I wasn't called for any conversation, right? I just heard, amongst my colleagues that, oh, what's really wrong with Itoro? Anyway, I stayed focused trying to figure out what was going on with my health because it was strange to me. All right. So battling with trying to keep my health and my job, there was worry, there was anxiety, and I was still working. I was a talent acquisition specialist at the time. That was my role before I left that organization. And of course, we had back-to-back recruitment. It was the banking sector. And of course, sales people they were like a revolving door, in and out, and managing several departments, showing up with a smile, even though it was forced. But I was just passionate about my work and I wanted to be well. In August of that year, the hospital, they got tired of having me come in every other time treating malaria and typhoid. So the doctor recommended me to see a clinical psychologist. Upon visiting the psychologist, I was given an assessment, all right? And they diagnosed me with second-degree depression. So the clinical psychologist advised that you might need to take some time off work. I'm like, yeah, I do need time to take off work, but I still got work to do. I want to be available, star employee, all of that. I didn't want to be seen as this irresponsible person. So I kept at it. In December of that year, I treated malaria and typhoid, and I was unable to heal. Malaria and typhoid, that should take you a few days and you recover. My body was not healing. There was no recovery. That was when I knew that something wasn't right. And then I started talking to my sister, who's a life coach, and she mentioned the word burnout. And I'm like, what does that mean? So that was how the journey began for me. Now, nobody needs to go through all of that kind of struggle to be to have a healthy life and a secure environment to be productive, to create results, and be in just a work environment and be a person. So I hope that from my own experience and my story that I am able to, with everything that I've learned, I'm able to share with people the signs. How do you recognize burnout, even from the initial stages, right? Let's understand that everybody's signs would be unique. It's not going to be the same, but it's for us to be curious. When you have an employee or a person, you want to be curious, like, why is this person behaving like this? The person is frequent, at the hospital. The person is absent. Like, why is she always absent? And your curiosity leading you, I believe I'm talking to a lot of HR people and leaders here. So your curiosity leading you to having a conversation with these individuals, right? Not with your colleagues, because in my case, that's what happened. So this is me now, 2023 December. I am restored. My nervous system, of course, is well regulated. Now, in this space, my goal is to prevent burnout from all the things I've learned in the past and all I've learned about myself. How do I prevent burnout from happening? How do I live in a state of wellness? That takes us to our next slide. Okay, so what is burnout? According to WHO, they have classified burnout as a workplace apologies. Okay. They have classified burnout as a workplace syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. And it is characterized by these three things: the feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion. Number two, increased mental distance from one's job or feelings of negativism or cynicism related to one's job. Number three, reduced professional efficacy. Now, what does that look like in our everyday experiences? Under the energy depletion and exhaustion, you can hear people say things like, I'm feeling tired and exhausted. I feel drained, weak, fatigued. All right. You see these people unable to adapt to difficult work environments. So when you start hearing things like, I'm feeling tired, these are buzzwords. Sometimes we even use those things to strike up conversations. These are things that can start showing you the signs of burnout in a person. Now, the second characteristic of burnout, cynicism and depersonalization. This can include detachment, indifference, and unconcern towards the work being performed or the people who receive it. You would see things like irritability and interpersonal avoidance, usually towards service users, patients, and or clients. You can hear someone say something like, I don't care anymore. Someone put in the chat earlier, I'm fed up, I'm done. right? Now, the third, reduced professional efficacy. Negative, this can show up as negative professional self-evaluations. They are pessimistic. That's the word. Everything is interpreted in the negative. They have doubts about the ability to perform the job effectively, even when they are high performers. There's a decrease in productivity and capabilities. It goes all the way down to low morale and lower coping skills. In 2022, I had just been promoted, right? But I wasn't happy. I was promoted. I was now a full-time employee, something I'd always wanted. I was paid more money, but I was not enjoying life. I was tired. I just wanted to be done. I wanted a break. That is something that burnout can cause. So you see these kinds of people that they probably are achieving so much, but when you talk to them, they feel like they are a failure. And then you're asking yourself, wait, but you're the guy hitting all these targets. Why are you unhappy? Let's move on. Let's look at some of the other signs of burnout. All right. So I grouped them into physical, mental, behavioral, and emotional signs. Right. And under the physical signs, you see people experiencing headaches, intestinal problems, muscle tension or pain, chest pain, fatigue, stomach upsets. They are vulnerable to diseases. Their immune system is not functioning because they are already in a state of stress. They are not taking enough time to rest, to recover. Therefore, their bodies are just on empty. They are running on empty. What these kinds of people need isn't a pat on the back, just keep going. It's a break they need. Now, some of the mental signs that you would find in burnout would be concentration deficits, being forgetful and absent-minded, all right? Trouble staying focused, indecisiveness, impaired learning capability, impaired planning and control. These people mentally want to avoid anything because their nervous system is now in a state of freeze. They just want to preserve themselves. They don't want to move forward to do any activity, just preservation because we don't want to die. That's what their nervous system is telling them, that if you do anything, they're just going to die. So let's look at some of the behavioral signs. Conflicts, social withdrawal, drinking alcohol. Some people, take to drugs or drinking alcohol to cope. Some take medicine. Some people have eating disorders. People quit their hobbies. They stop sports. Something a person used to enjoy doing becomes like a chore to them. Their creativity is reduced. They no longer have empathy. Someone who used to be very empathetic and compassionate suddenly snaps. All of these things, signs I've mentioned, I experienced them. I was at my self-consciousness was a little bit alive, so I knew that this was not me. But I couldn't really understand why I was behaving and having all of these experiences. So let's keep the journey. You would find out why and how during the course of our conversations. Now, the emotional signs you would find in a person experiencing burnout: anxiety and panic, feeling frustrated and angry, feeling upset or sad without knowing why. This part is something that showed up for me a lot in the workplace. I would cry for no reason. I would finish. Let me use an example. During that period, I organized the 50th birthday for our leader, and it was a huge success. But then I found myself really sad. I felt so sad and just unhappy. For something I'd done a very good job, but I was unhappy. So that can happen to a person experiencing burnout. And some of them aren't able to control their emotions. Some even have emotional breakdown, severe fatigue, passivity, inability to motivate oneself, learned helplessness. There is a feeling of helplessness, like there's no hope, and mood problems. This feeling of helplessness sometimes can lead to thoughts of suicide. Yes, Some people consider suicide because what's the point of living if I can't feel joy, if I can't feel satisfaction in the things of life, especially the things I work so hard for? So let's move on. Let's look at some of the causes of burnout. Now, I'm going to look at it from the individual and the organizational factors. Now, some of the individual factors we'll be looking at are personality traits, right? Some scholars have said that personality traits, sociodemography, and coping strategies facilitate the development of burnout. In the case of some of the organizational factors that we'll discuss in the next slides. So we'll look at just 3 for today. Now we'll look at locus of control, neuroticism, which is a trait of somebody's ability to regulate their emotions, emotional stability, and perseverance, which is a coping mechanism. So for the locus of control, we know that there are 2 types of locus of control, the internal and the external. And the people under the internal locus of control have the belief that they control their destinies. Everything that happens to me, they take responsibility for it. And the other people who have the external locus of control believe that other people control what happens to me. Life happens to me. It's them. All right. So who is more likely to experience burnout between these 2 locus of control? Somebody can unmute and just share with us. Who do you think is more likely to experience burnout with this type of personality traits? Anybody? Anybody wants to try? Between the person who has the internal and the external locus of control, who is more likely to experience burnout?
The one with the external locus of control.
Perfect. Because you are not in control of anything. You're just drowning in every other person's expectations, what they want, society's demands, work demands, no control whatsoever. You are not collected, integrated in yourself. So let's look at neuroticism. Now, a person who tends to exhibit emotional instability, anxiety, hostility, and propensity for emotional pain is at a higher risk of experiencing burnout. Perseverance, a continued effort to do or achieve something despite difficulties and reluctance to asking for support. Now, that's a coping mechanism. Some people have the belief that, I need to do this thing. It's either supposed to prove a point, or maybe that's how they were brought up. They continue to drive themselves in tasks, especially when these are impossible tasks. And then they refuse to ask for help. Look at those kinds of people, because they are just riding right into the path of burnout. Now, let's take a look at some of the causes from the organizational perspective. Workload and lack of autonomy. When an individual is in an environment, especially when they already have such personality traits that we've mentioned, and the person is in an environment where the workload is too much for them, and there is lack of autonomy, that means the decision making and the creating of their work is not within their control at all. They are unable to work, using their own style. Many expectations and duties with tight deadlines and targets, with insufficient resources. It exposes the person to the risk of burnout quickly. Now, ambiguity and role conflict. The worker does not know what is expected of them, or does not have enough information about their mission. Some people experience this in the workplace. You show up at a job, there is no JD. When you eventually get the JD, it's not clear. When you ask questions, you have no answers. So you start out with no clarity. But of course, the feedback always comes. You are not doing this. How have you not met this? So the person is in a state of confusion over a long period of time. that can contribute to burnout. Or you have role conflicts. Your job description says do A, B, C plus D, but someone else says, oh no, do F, E, G, another set of tasks. And then your line manager says, no, this is what you're supposed to do. But so you're in between, do this, do that, do this, do that. So you're like, okay, which one am I really supposed to do? These are the kinds of things that can contribute to a person experiencing burnout. Now, poor and inadequate supervision. You experience line managers that are, their directors. Do this, do that. Get there, show there. You ask for help or at least clarification. That does not happen. You do not get the support that you need. But of course, you always get the negative criticism and then the focus on the negative aspect of an employee's job. Those are some of the things that can create an environment where burnout thrives. Lack of fairness. And fairness displays itself as respect, candor, and trust in the workplace. If these things do not exist in the workplace, that environment is going to encourage people to go through stress over long periods of time. They might not say anything because they just want to be seen as good, good employees, right? They don't want to get in trouble. But that environment is exposing them to burnout. Rewards. Now, rewards, whether it's monetary or non-monetary, there ought to be rewards. Compliment an employee for job well done. Let an employee know how they are contributing to the overall goal of the unit, the department, and the organization, so that they know that what they're doing is meaningful. They are contributing to something bigger than themselves. An environment that does not provide that is creating an environment that will allow burnout to manifest. Now, values. Now, we don't even want to talk about people who are working and doing so well, yet are not remunerated accordingly. That's a different conversation altogether. But I want to believe you understand the rewards aspect, right? So values. When there is a mismatch between an individual's values, inspirations, and their goals, and that of the organization, there is always a tendency of that person experiencing burnout, especially when it happens over long periods of time. And if that person doesn't have extracurricular activities to make up for whatever they're doing, something that reminds them of who they are, something that means something to them. Now let's look at poor working hours. The working hours conditions that make it difficult for someone to reconcile family and professional life are an important trigger of burnout. When a person's life is around the job, today you're at work, tomorrow is a meeting, you're traveling, there's no time to connect with people that you love, with your community outside of work. Sooner than later, you start experiencing stress, and this can develop into burnout, especially when there is no support group in that work environment, no friendliness or peer or team support. Now, we've talked about some of the signs of burnout, and we've talked about the 3 characteristics of burnout. Now, burnout starts out as an emotional situation, and then it starts to show up in the physical, then behavioral, and then it eventually impacts the business negatively. So some of the consequences of burnout on a business would be reduction in quality of service. When you have a person who is unhappy, disconnected, that person is not going to put in their best to provide quality service, excellence. I'll use the call center, for example. A number of studies have shown that people in call centers experience burnout because of their work schedules. They are on crazy, busy work schedules. So when these people are exhausted and yet they are still, required to show up and put on a smile and be happy, that is difficult. And therefore, what do you experience? Call agents lashing out on their customers, and they're still called back and reprimanded for such behavior. Sometimes these are things you want to just take a look at if you are in a position to actually analyze and make a difference. Medical practitioners work long hours, do double jobs, mostly because, or most of them because they are passionate about helping people. People that experience burnout are mostly passionate people. They are high achievers. However, their passion and what they're doing do not completely align, or some of the things they're probably doing are not bringing them into a place of wellness and well-being. So one of the consequences of burnout would be reduction in quality of services. Now, there can be delays in meeting timelines, interrupting work tasks, and reducing production time. Sometimes production time is increased. I'll use myself as an example. So in my team, of course, talent acquisition specialists handled recruitment. They did sourcing, they did the recruitment, they did the onboarding and documentation. Sometimes they doubled working with the hiring managers to ensure the person was onboarded, work tools, everything. Recruitment from end to end. That was a lot of work for one individual. And we're talking about somebody managing maybe 5 branches plus head office. And then you manage where we have like bankers in training coming in, a person doing that back to back without any opportunity to take a break. So what happened in our team was some people started breaking down. And when the person breaks down, what happens? Someone else needs to come on. What does that do for that person? Increases the person's workload. Then another person breaks down. Then there are errors. Then this person has a nervous breakdown and the other person is lashing out. And the person is, some people are MIA. We can't find you. So we need to, where is the report? It was a chaotic experience, however, but I learned something. Those are some of the things that burnout can create. We see most times in HR, what comes to you is a report. So person did not deliver. They can even tell you maybe like 3 times in a row in their performance. But do we take the time to ask, like, okay, what's really going on? I remember I had a colleague who just lost his dad before he joined the bank. And he was experiencing stress. He would, pass out sometimes. I couldn't even, then I knew that the guy needed a break. But we had recruitments, and then we had timelines, and then we had to show up. And we showed up over the weekends. And then we had regulatory issues, and we had to get on top of that and solve the problem, save the bank. But our health was suffering. So let's go to the next point. Burnout can cause a contagion effect, generating a bad working environment. Truly, when a person is unhappy on the job and they are withdrawing, imagine a new employee showing up and somebody who is burnout, even if they are high flyers, high performers, but because they are depressed, someone else might not read it as, oh, it's burnout. Oh, that person is experiencing this. They will just read it as, oh, no, this person is disgruntled. Yeah, that's the term. Disgruntled employee. Right? Because the person has started showing the behavioral signs of burnout, of the impact of burnout. Then another employee, and before you know it, the environment is everybody's, low energies, low morale, and you're wondering what's going on. Sometimes you're planning, hangouts. Are we checking our hangouts? Are the hangouts impactful? Are people just ticking the boxes? Let's just show up before HR will come after us, right? Economic losses as a consequence of absenteeism, loss of efficiency, and counterproductive behaviors. There's even presenteeism. Somebody shows up at work, but they're not doing the job. then you have to redo the work, or someone else has to take on the job. And then there's, people are lashing out. Some of these things are impacting the productivity of the organization. As you use recruitment, for example, that when there's a gap in an organization for such a long period, what that role or that job was supposed to contribute to the overall goal of the organization is missing. Then imagine if that role was supposed to contribute to the bottom line or something, then you lose that as well. Then there is a high fly who has to take some time off to go and relax or recuperate. Counterproductive behaviors, people lashing out on people, sometimes fights, creating a very unhealthy work environment for every other person. These are just some of the consequences. There are other consequences, but these are the ones that we'll just look at today. Now, what are some of the ways that we can deal with burnout? We can manage burnout. We can address burnout. I'll start from the individual perspective. Number one thing I'd like to talk about is self-awareness. Because from my experience, there are expectations we have from an organization. But as a person, what helped me first was to take responsibility of my health. And working with my coach was instrumental to that journey. Taking back my power, recovering. And our very first meeting was about who are you? Self-awareness, which is your ability to perceive and understand the things that make you who you are as an individual. I had to start rewriting my script. Who am I? Itoro, who are you? What are your values? What are the things that you hold dear? What is your purpose? Why am I doing the things that I do? Should I even be in this environment? Should I be working this job? How does this align with who I am and where I'm going to? Those are some of the things that you look at when you're exploring self-awareness. How am I contributing to this reality? How am I contributing to my suffering? Let's say the person is suffering. All right. Self-awareness puts you in a place of power to take back your strength, to show up as your authentic self. That is the beginning of healing for anybody who's probably experiencing burnout. And for the person who actually really wants to live in a place of well-being, self-awareness is very important. It helps you know, this is who I am, this is what I accept. This doesn't work for me. I appreciate you. However, this is the boundary. Because in the end, you're protecting your essence. All right. Second thing is well-being. There's a lot of self-care, well-being, wellness. Those are not just nice buzzwords, people. Those are the things that will bring you into a place. It's the holistic approach that you need to stay well, especially in this economy and in the future. All right, so let's just explore the 8 areas. So well-being, I'll just read this definition I found on dictionary.com. I liked it. It's a good or satisfactory condition of existence, a state characterized by health, happiness, and prosperity, welfare, to influence the well-being of the nation and its people. I found this definition very encompassing because when you look at the definition of burnout, there's exhaustion, there is cynicism, and then there is a part where the person no longer knows who they are. And well-being is like the antidote for that. So how does that work? We look at the physical, nutrition, exercise, sleep. Busy professionals, oh my God, no, I'm going to skip breakfast. Or you just have a cup of coffee, boom, meeting. From there, you jump, another one, next one. Before you know it, you're 6 p.m. I haven't eaten today. Even those that get to eat, oh, what are you having for lunch? Hey, that's Coke. That Coke and small chops. That's what I'll eat. So nutrition really is not just about you eating. It's about nourishing your body with the right vitamins in the right, amount. Exercise. I think this part is, gaining a lot of impact these days. People are exercising a lot more. Are you getting enough sleep? How many hours do you sleep? You know what? I moved to Lagos in 2016 and I wasn't sleeping well anymore because I gotta make it. This girl gotta make it. I'm going for the bag. I was in trainings. I was doing everything because I just passionate about my work, my career. I wanted to build it. And then there was the age factor. Oh, at this age is over. You're not married yet. So I was losing sleep, unable to rest. Everything was just happening. Right? The best amount of time for sleep has been published as 7 to 9 hours. How many of those are you able to take? Think about it. Your physical health. How are you relating with your physical health? Mental health, mindfulness, self-talk, therapy if needed. Mindfulness is just having that moment where you sit with yourself, centered on being peaceful, having that calmness. Self-talk. What are you saying to yourself? If your performance review is saying not good, maybe people are labeling you at work or whatever. But what's your relationship with yourself? Are you saying nice things to yourself? Are you saying encouraging things to yourself? When you realize that you have challenges, trauma, or maybe you're feeling sad and you think you want to talk to somebody, do you reach out to a trusted friend, or do you just bottle everything up and believe that there's no point, there's no need? All of these things contribute to your mental health. Are you just going on the internet and looking for sad news? Oh, the TBN, the other one, filling your mind with negativism, the gossip, what are you putting in your mind? Emotional health, gratitude. What are your triggers? Are you journaling your thoughts, your feelings? Are you asking yourself why? What are the things you're grateful for? When was the last time you thought about something you're grateful for? Do you have a journal where you write down things you're grateful for? The role you're currently working, it was a prayer point at some point. Where you are right now was once a prayer or a desire. Are you grateful for that? What are some of your triggers as a person when you sit down to assess yourself and you're aware of yourself? What are your triggers? How are you building the right boundaries or identifying your triggers so you know how to manage your emotions, your responses? Are you doing all of that? Through my recovery, these are the things that I worked on that helped me to take power back to say, oh, I must take responsibility for me first. Now let's talk about the spiritual health. Under the spiritual health, talk about meditating. That means spending time, monitoring or just thinking about the good things that you have written down. If it's scripture, for those that are Christians, Muslims, whatever religion that you are in, meditating is just spending time to reflect, right? Sometimes communicating with something higher than yourself, the being that is higher than yourself. Are you taking the time to walk in nature, relax? If you have a dog, you play with your dog, cats, those people, for people that have pets. Some people, take on yoga. I didn't need to do yoga. Most of my exercises were somatic, breathing, Then your intellectual health. Are you reading and learning? Are you tasking your mind, keeping yourself just updated, especially with the things that are important to you? For me, who likes cooking, I read about recipes and cook for myself and say, okay, if I put this and this together, I'm also a student. So I read about my course. How can this help people in the environment? Just reading exercises your mind and it boosts your confidence. Your confidence is boosted when you show up and you have something to say, whether in a meeting or in a conversation. You don't have to be a pro, but just be aware. What about your hobbies? Environment. What are you doing to ensure your environment is clean and safe? Some of the ways you can contribute to your environmental health is declutter. Sometimes our spaces can actually cause us to be in low energies. But you realize that when you clean up, arrange, your productivity increases. Your mind is clear. You think better. Are you exposing yourself to poor air environment? Sometimes when you're going to the market or just going on the streets, if the air isn't clean, still use your nose mask. The goal is, what are you doing to protect your health, yourself? Are you putting yourself in environments that do not support your mental or emotional or any of these things here? So under environment, keep your environment clean and safe. Social. Are you hanging out with people that love you, people who are good to you, people who have good intentions towards you? Are you communicating your boundaries? Are you telling people how you want to be treated? In the workplace, are you secure in yourself enough to walk away from conversations that do not support you? Are you afraid of being left out or being labeled a particular way? Are you taking the effort? Are you making any efforts to understand the politics, the work environment? How are you building connections that support you? Those are some of the things that we look at under the social well-being. Now, under financial, what's your relationship with money? Are you making choices out of scarcity mindsets or fear and lack? Those are some of the things you want to look at. So these are the 8 areas that I looked at that supported recovery. And these are the things that I am living with, today. We're not going back to burnout. We are choosing to stay committed to wellness, well-being, not just for today, but our lives in the future. Now, how to address burnout in the workplace. And this is really to HR managers and leaders, because we are the ones who encounter people the most. And most times we have certain levels of power to make impacts, make decisions, especially around people's jobs and lives in the workplace. So number one, I would like to talk about onboarding. Are the job descriptions and expectations clear? When a person joins your organization, do they know what they are hired to do? Even when your job posts, when the job was posted, when they show up, are they clear? Are the targets well defined? If there are going to be changes, do you communicate it, or do they just show up and you're shouting? And those are some of the things we look at. Those are some of the things that can expose a person to being confused, like, okay, what's happening? And then they start to question their realities, which can lead to somebody being sad and slowly depression because they're questioning their value. So another way we can do this, so clarifying job expectations is important. Let people be clear on what is expected, how they'll be measured. Feedback. Let them hear their feedback from you, not from their colleague. Improve job characteristics. Now, HR professionals, we hear a lot of work redesign, job rotation. Do you want to look at a person's job? Is there a flow in the person's job? If there's a place where there's role conflicts, how can that be resolved? then for some roles, the exposure to the potential stressors can be reduced just so that these people can have the time to recuperate instead of going round and round and round in burnout. Because burnout really is that a person's battery, the person is running on empty, and then we are expecting them to keep on. No. If your battery is down and out, what do? I like a response. If your battery is down and out, especially iPhone users, what do you do to your phone? Somebody can unmute and speak.
We charge. We charge.
Recharge.
Exactly. Exactly. We recharge. We don't say battery move, keep on. You need to provide. We just charge it. We know that it's charging. And in fact, sometimes we turn off everything. We know how my phone is to charge. If we do that with our devices, then what about the human being that is doing the job, that is bringing the revenue? These are just some of the thoughts that we want to have. Humanization of schedules and implementation of work-life balance plans. These work-life balance has been a buzzword for a while. So we just want to keep looking at that. How is this person's schedule impacting their maybe relationships at home? Do we even know how our people are doing in their families? Is somebody going through a tough time with their spouses? Are we open to share such? Are they safe enough to let a line manager know that I am struggling at home and it's impacting my work? These are some of the things that when you look at humanizing a schedule, then a person might probably be open to say, look, I have 3 kids. My wife is this. They need me so time. Can my schedule, I'm available at so time, I will produce results, monitor it, see if it works. If it doesn't, try another. Are we flexible enough to do that? Now, coaching and guidance for employees. This is gold. My journey for transformation did not start when I had the burnout. It started when I joined some of the coaching sessions with Dr. Saz, Coach Yomi, Coach Lara, because they start exposing my mind to some things. I'm like, okay, there can be more. Life can be better, right? So when an employee is displaying funny behaviors, do we, assess them, draft them out for coaching? Do we find out from them what the problem is? Because really coaching is working with a person to achieve their goals. Do we do that? Sometimes people just need help, even when they show up as they know it all. People need to be guided sometimes. So leadership development programs for managers. Some of the leadership styles that have been found to decrease burnout and the risk in environments are the authentic, transformational, and 7 leadership styles of leadership. Do we have authentic leaders, people that can say, okay, I did wrong. I'm sorry, I was wrong. They admit it when they do wrong. They make the changes. They work with their people to maybe correct a wrong or something. Or are we just directors, autocratic leaders? We want to produce more leaders that are transformational in their style. Even if that's not the person's personality, but what does your organization hold dear? What is their value? Do they accept the behaviors of some of these people? You want to look into some of those things. Now, support groups. These are groups that meet regularly to exchange information, give each other's emotional support, and solve work problems. Do we have such things in our environments? I did a course one time and they talked about work friendship. Does that exist in your workplace? Is it encouraged? I mean, these are people that come together, maybe the same personality or whatever. They have things in common. They probably like the same sports. They probably attended the same school, probably have the same goals. These people can be assigned to other employees to support them. If somebody was able to come through a challenge, okay, talk to this person. They experience something like this. That can be very helpful. I for me, when I was experiencing all of these things, I remember Dr. Saz explaining to me what was happening to me, especially when I was in and out of the hospital for malaria and typhoid. He explained to me that it was my genotype. I'm like, really? I had never heard that before. That helped me to come out of the anxiety about my health for a moment. Burnout monitoring and design of customized plans. Do you monitor burnout in your organization? How do you even do that? I mean, that can happen through, having surveys periodically just to know the burnout levels in your organization. This can also happen through different departments, maybe different generations, different roles, just to compare and know how to move things around, what to implement, what to continue doing, what you can stop doing. Do you have a return to work integration plan for somebody who has actually experienced burnout? Or do you you expect the person to just show up and hit the ground running? These are some of the things we want to think about in our day-to-day functioning. Institutionalization of occupational health and safety. Now, one of the obligations of an organization is to provide a healthy and safe workplace for employees. Is your organization committed to it, or are we just ticking the boxes? Sometimes you don't need to do it all on your own. You might not know everything. Then you can partner with some EAP, some organizations that know this better, clinical psychologists. I know organizations do that. So we just keep up the work. Training and awareness campaigns. This part is gold for me. Because I remember letting my HR know that this is what I'm going through. I'm experiencing burnout. And her feedback to me was, you're not the only person experiencing burnout. Return to work. Right? I took in December, when I realized that I had burnout, I took 22 days leave. The hospital said 3 months, but I'm like, oh no, I need to be available. So I did 22 days. And when my leader found out, it was like, oh no, that's too long. And I said, please, the reason is for burnout recovery. And the feedback I got was this. I knew that was not a place I could recover. So in my research, I learned that some people who are better aware of the signs, some leaders who are better aware of the signs of burnout were able to support their employees who were experiencing some of those signs. So maybe training some of our people can be helpful. Now, strength-based intervention. This is, what does this involve? It's basically letting people do tasks that are strength related, right? This is their area of strength. So they get on projects that, are in their area of strength while they do some of the things that are not their area of strength, but they focus more on their competencies, right? Can we explore that as well? Am I communicating? I've been the one talking mostly. Are we getting it? We're at the end of the session already.
Yes, we are.
Okay. I'm glad.
Yes.
All right. So to summarize everything I've said, burnout, right, is that state of exhaustion, depersonalization, cynicism, and a person losing their sense of being person, which develops over a long period of stress. That's it. Burnout is something that happens when a person has gone through stress upon stress upon stress. So I'll just use myself for example. My work life was like, I work. I break down malaria and typhoid. Okay, it can take 5 days. That 5 days I'm working because there's nobody to handle my work. So I haven't rested, right? And then after the 5 days, I'm back to work. Then I continue again. After 3 months, another one. So I had done that for maybe two years. But my body eventually told me that, no, we're no longer doing this. And then it has to shut down. All right? We don't need to wait for that to happen. Line managers on this call, or if you know somebody, please let your employees go on their leave. I beg you. Whatever it takes, plan it, support them, but at least let them go for their leave. As a kind request, please. Okay. So we identified some of the signs of burnout, which manifest in physical, mental, behavioral, and emotional states. We saw some of those things. Burnout affects the organization's bottom line. The question is, are we measuring how these things are impacting our organizations? Would we be making more money if people were better cared for, like they showed up with their full wellness intact and doing the job? How is this going to affect us in the long run? If everybody's burning out and dropping off and people are just getting fed up, what's in it for us in the long run? We also highlighted the organizational and individual causes of burnout and some of the organizational consequences, which I just mentioned. It does impact the organization, just that we are not measuring how these things are impacting us. And I talked about a few things on how to address burnout in the workplace.
Awesome.
If you have questions, I am open to answer. It's a question and answer session.
Yeah. Itoro, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much. That was really, really powerful. I love the way you certainly and clearly articulated your presentation. Thank you. Please, guys, in the chat room, let's put in our emoji to encourage Itoro. That was really deep. Lots of thought-provoking questions came out through in our session. Fantastic session. Thank you, Lady Gwen. Thank you, guys. Can we just put in our emoji? Thank you. Awesome presentation from Lydia. Thank you. Amazing. Well articulated. Very timely. Yes. Thank you. Mo Mrs. Thank you so much. Awesome. 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 That was really powerful. Thank you, Itoro. And you summarized everything, so I'm not going to make any summary. Guys, let's talk about this. I love the fact, Itoro, that you brought in a lot of your personal experience and story into this. And that's a typical picture of the life of someone in the corporate industry. We are not perfect, right? But there's a lot of awareness now around mental well-being. And this does not happen without the contribution from the environment of the place of work or the organization that people work in. Yes. Thank you, Lady Gwen, for your feedback. Yes, I love her delivery. Very clearly and excellently delivered. Thank you. Wow, you did extensive work right here. Thank you. And for me, what also stood out is the passion that you also brought into bear as you were, still taking us through, also sharing your own personal journey. And when you said you had asked for time off to go and recuperate, and your line manager then didn't see a need. Somebody said, wow. I said, yes, that's the reality. Some people actually beg. They beg to go for leave. I'm like, why must you beg for your entitlement, right? People feel their organization is on their shoulders. If you're not there, work will not move. There's so much gems in what you have shared today. Thank you so much. Guys, are there any questions or any similar experience anyone wants to share so we can learn? This is our reality. We are here to learn, to gain awareness on what we can do differently. Thank you, Lady Gwen. Please, you can unmute and share. Thank you. Lady Gwen, you raised your hand. Can you unmute?
She's talking. Okay.
Oh my goodness. I wasn't even aware. Sorry. Thank you very much. Okay, so I said thank you so much, Itoro, for the session was well delivered, well articulated, and I love the way you brought in your experiences, into all of the things we need to know. Some of the things well, I've had my fair share, and which came out in form of a book, but that's not to say I know better now, but probably I like to also hear your perspective. I remembered when I was at different points in time when I'd had burnout. Apart from that, there was always this fear of, oh, if I leave the job for my health's sake, how would I fend for myself? There was always that fear. And then, employers, especially if it's a one-man business, it's what they mostly do is to string you along. For instance, you're not well paid enough, or not, I don't know how to put that, but not well paid to the point that you can't save. Okay, so what they pay you is just to barely run their own businesses, more like get yourself to work, feed, and maybe do a little thing, and then you don't even have savings. So at the end of the day, you're always like just waiting for the end of the month to be paid. And it comes like a circle. So now the fear, at some point, there was a time I had that fear, like, oh my goodness, if I leave the job, how am I going to survive? So and I think that's the same fear that makes people not to take a break, or want to even go on leave, or want to demand for what is their entitlement, as to maybe leave and things like that. So how do you deal with that fear of maybe the employer will say, oh, go, we don't need you anymore, and all of that? How do you deal with the fear?
Thank you, Lady Gwen. This is a very, first of all, it's authentic, because I remember when I mentioned I was going to quit, that was the very first thing people started asking me. Oh, how are you going to do this? Oh, I too had that fear. But there are different perspectives to, looking at this. Now, I mean, I'm sorry that somebody has to even be in that kind of position where you work and it's like nothing is coming out of it, especially in the economy that we find ourselves. So it takes us to, now, there is the part where the person is already in this situation, right? You've already experienced it, or that's your story. Like, you are currently there, you're like, okay, if I leave, how do I fend for myself? I'll always start from your financial health. What's your relationship with money? What are your beliefs about your life? Especially when it comes to this, if I leave my job today, how am I going to survive? Like, who is your God? Right? Is it the money? Is it the job? Or is it the one who actually created you? Because I will not be able to tell you this is what to do or not to do. You will be able to find a solution for yourself, right? When I was quitting my job, it wasn't really that someone said quit, right? First of all, these are some of the things that I had put in place, right? I started saving, but you said that for someone who is working in a place where they are unable to save, what are you doing there? What are you doing there? Can you find something? It might not be, this prestigious role where you're like, oh, the grandeur, but it can be paying your rent, can be paying your dues, Can you explore such options? That's one way. Can you think of, is there a family, a friend I can talk to who is willing to support me through maybe, is it 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months? And you talk to them and be open to them to say, this is what I'm experiencing. And this is where I'll need your support. You will find help, right? So first, start with your belief. Do you believe that you are not supported apart from your salary? If you believe that, then you want to check that. Is it true? Is it really true? What if you were sacked? If you were sacked, in that organization that you can barely survive, if you were sacked, what would you do? There will be help. I'm a believer, so I believe in God. God always provides. He doesn't just leave us helpless. But of course, we're not just sitting around. But if trouble comes, people, there is help. That's where I will start from. Then, of course, by the time you found the help, you start thinking about saving, no matter how little. You save and you give. And you say, but I'm not even able to take care of myself. How am I giving? You give not because you have, you give not because you have, you give because you do believe that I am a prosperous person. This is me being candid. It might not be the contemporary or expected feedback, but this is how I approach life, right? So you save, you give, and then you keep pushing. You keep pushing.
All right, Toro, we have another question. I want to wrap up on that quickly.
Okay. But Lady Gwen, am I helping you and am I answering your question? Is my response helpful?
Quite helpful.
Yes, thank you. Thank you
right.
so much. We have another question from Nancy.
Okay.
How can I...
Maybe after that, I actually want to add something.
All right, Dr. Aziz. All right, sir. Nancy, how can I discuss feeling burnt out to my HR without looking like I'm failing at work? People have gotten fired for this, so I want to be careful.
Okay, well, the truth is you have already seen, your HR has already shown you who they are. So you don't want to go confirm it, right? Somebody has been fired. So you want to ask yourself, what is the best action when someone has already told me who they are through their behavior? You believe it. So do you want to look for other options? Because I wouldn't say go tell your HR, especially if they've not shown any change in behavior or communicated differently. Does that help?
All right, thank you. If I can also add to that, I mean, Toro, you raised a very vital point: knowledge and awareness. So if you've perceived your HR person to be someone who is not knowledgeable in that area, I think first, you can speak to your line manager, right? By just being very authentic and saying to your line manager, I'm really, really tired. I feel I need some time. I'm feeling exhausted. I mean, you're human. I'm feeling exhausted. I'm feeling drained. I mean, I'm mentally drained. I remember last year, 2023, I also had mental shutdown for the first time. It was during the cash crunch. There was a lot of pressure. It got to a point that I wasn't even thinking. I couldn't think. I was going to work and I realized I was not my normal self. I was not productive. I didn't tell them that I was experiencing mental shutdown. I knew what I was experiencing, but they don't know. I spoke to my MD, my line manager, and I asked for time off. And I told them I really need to be off at this time for personal reasons. And that was when I traveled. It was when I left the country, I knew that I had to go to a different environment to recalibrate. And that was a breakthrough for me. So you might not discuss given your knowledge of awareness of the HR person, so you're not labeled or judged or tagged, right? But look for a senior person, a line manager you can share it, or just ask for your time off. Ask for your time off work and make sure you attend to yourself when you are off work. Yes, good question. What if your line manager is also following you? Fantastic. Just ask for your time off. You know what you need to do when you're away from work. Ask for your time off work. Ask for your leave. Ask for an ample time. Some people would even take unpaid. Unpaid. I just need to go clear my head. You know what you need. Ask for it. And if you have adequate leave timing, please ask for it and then go attend to yourself. Dr. Aziz, sir, over to you, sir.
It's okay. Thank you very much. I most sincerely appreciate IT, Itoro Thompson. She has actually been able to bake the bread with all the recipe present to make it so tasteful, colorful, and at the same time world-class standard. But maybe by way of explain, let me just spice it up with a little, what do you normally call it, icing on that particular cake. The content and the context, they are well articulated, well presented, well planned, and of course, well executed. By way of maybe just adding up, I sincerely appreciate, especially with her level, very early enough, she has actually some of our trade secrets in HR, in management, in project management, in people management, she has actually got it. And I think in the house, she deserves a commendation. She was able to actually share with us experience. And what is experience statistically? Experience is a function of success plus failure plus challenges equal to results, which equal to minus or plus. Minus means failure, plus means success. IT was able to actually tell us the theory. It was also able to lace it up or latch it up with good example. You will agree with me that HR managers and line managers, they need to turn around their thinking, their mentality, their perception, their impression, their intention, and attention on people. Of all resources available to any organization or any manager, name it, money, material, method, machinery, minute, man. Man is the most critical of all this because of his thinking ability. Is the one that can actually optimize or otherwise all other resources, but is the least well taken care of. Line manager outside there, HR manager outside there, they see man as a tool to be used and done. We create more emphasis, care for money, for material, for machinery, more than human being. Whereas human is more critical and more important. And why? Organizations don't pay for effort, they pay for results. So they want to extract this result at all costs. I was working in an organization, a multinational for that matter. The operation director will say, your presentation during the performance review is only when you are on sick bed and there is a threatening report by the doctor. If nothing like that, consider yourself a gunner in the workplace. All this leads to burnout in the workplace. So, but there are some little recipe and there are some little things that we can actually do in addition to what is. I could recollect a lot of things I actually introduced. For instance, we are not only managing the employee in the workplace, we also try to care for the family at home. Because a man is also part of his home and home is part of him. I could recollect I once introduced what I call spouse allowance. If you are, this spouse allowance is a function of the grade you occupy. You are a director, then you collect about 3-4 million. We graduate it according to we calibrate it according to the type, to the, what they call it, according to your grade, position you occupy. Again, some little things also go a long way. There could be gym in the workplace. It's not out of place. There could be facility for games. There's nothing wrong for MD to be in the midst of staff at the staff canteen. Not only that, there should also be a talk on things that are, on diseases that are so prevalent in the society. All these go a long way to actually, also, we can also do some with the reconfiguration of the demography in the workplace. Gen Z they don't care about being pushed to work, but give them liberty and freedom. They give you more than what you expect. I think that we need to reset our brain, we need to reset our strategy, we need to reset our attention, and also our strategy and all whatever we believe in. IT, for me not to represent what you have presented, I sincerely say thank you. And I also need to thank Omalara. It is not life that matters, but the courage you brought to it, according to Obafemi Awolowo. For people that replicate themselves, I always see them as developer. Because many people outside there, they behave like what I call burial grand attendant, who always march on the unsung hero, and they don't allow them to become what they are capable of being. For doing what you are doing, Almighty God will continue to enrich your knowledge. You will not fall, you will not fail, you will not falter. It shall be well with you. Whatever
Amen.
you
Amen. Wow.
Thank you. God bless you. So once again,
Amen.
IT, you started well, you end well. Continue sharpening your skill and continue observe pupillage under somebody's tutelage. Because of what? Express is not a Bible commodity. You can't buy it in ShopRite, at ShopRite. You can't buy it traditional market. You need to ensure that you move close to people that can actually continue to enrich your knowledge. IT, I wish you good luck. It shall be well with you. Thank you.
Wow.
God bless you. That's the
Wow. That was a massive icing on the cake. All the way from Dr. Aziz. Sir, it's such an honor for us to have received such amazing feedback from someone of your thinker and your caliber. Thank you so much. I think on that note,
yeah.
Hello?
My Dr.
Thank you, sir.
Aziz was here. Really?
How are you, man?
Yes.
I'm fine.
Honestly, I'm blessed.
Good evening.
Such an honor.
Let's see your beautiful face. Go ahead.
Oh my God. Good to have everyone. I think on that note, it's been, wow. We saw your face flash.
I flashed it.
You flashed it. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much, Itoro. Honestly, Dr. Aziz has said it all. It's been an impactful and insightful session listening to you speak with so much passion, eloquently and excellently delivered. On that note, we want to appreciate everyone who was part of our HR Gems interactive session for the month of January. Thank you for your time. We do hope that you have learned one or two things. The change that we all seek starts first with us. When we go back to our respective homes, organization, let's take these learnings that we have learned today and let's apply. And that way, we begin to bring transformation and change to the workplace. Thank you so much on behalf of everyone, on behalf of HR Gems. Itoro, you're part of us. Thank you. It's really good to have listened and learned from you. Thank you. Thank you to all our participants in the house. Dr. Sars, I don't know if you are still there. I mean, Itoro kept mentioning Dr. Sars, Dr. Sars, Dr. Sars. We all know you. One of our gurus.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Lara. Good evening, Professor Itoro. Great job, Itoro. Impressed, proud of you. Well done.
Yes. I mean, when we were talking, I said, Toro, you must come. I'm shivering. I said, don't worry, Toro, you're in the best place. And honestly, she's made every one of us proud. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. On that note, we will end tonight's session. Thank you. Thank
I
you,
just want to
everyone.
point your attention to something. Somebody,
Oh, okay.
there's some questions. Can we have the presentation in our emails? Okay, hi Lydia. I'll talk to Coach Lara about that, and she'll probably communicate same to you if you would like the slides. I'm happy to share from my experience for anyone who is experiencing burnout or you're not sure how to approach it. Feel free to reach out to me. All right.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
you can drop your email address. I'm also dropping HR James' email address for anyone who wants to reach out to us for any further information. Itoro, please drop your contact details, the email address. How can people access you? I've also dropped HR James' email address. Yes, very easy. Feel free
IG.
Yes. So we can continue the conversation. Thank you so much, everyone. Such a pleasure. Thank you. Please reach out to the email addresses provided and we would.
That's my IG handle. I'm happy to assist you on IG as well.
Itoro_Thompson. Thank you so much, everyone. Do take care of yourself. Take care of your mental health, your physical health, your emotional well-being. Really, really important. Thank you so much. God bless you and enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.